What's going on YouTube, and welcome back to the channel. Before we get into today's video, make sure to subscribe and sack that like button. So before we get into this top 5 defensive lineman list, I want to be kind of clear. So this is including defensive tackles and defensive ends, people who play at any spot in the D line. But in this list, I'm including an outside linebacker because that outside linebacker is basically an edge rusher who plays on the defensive line, but he's listed as a linebacker. And quick little football lesson to make sense of all this. It really depends, the way, depending on the formation or scheme that your team runs, linebackers can be very different. Like if you play outside linebacker in a 3-4 system, then you play on the edge of the defensive line and you're basically an edge rusher because you're never in coverage. If you are a outside linebacker in a 4-3 scheme, then you are a linebacker not lined up on the line ever, and you are usually in coverage, and the only time you blitz is when your team is doing, a special blitz where they're blitzing more than 4 players. So there is that. So technically there is one guy that I have on this list that is technically a linebacker, but he's really a defensive lineman. He plays the role of a defensive lineman more, and if he was on a different team, like a team that runs a 4-3 like the Chiefs, he would be an edge rusher, and I'll mention who the player is once we get to that player. So if you want to feel better about it, you could just say top 5 pass rushers. So without further ado, let's begin the top 5 defensive linemen in football right now. Coming in at number 5, I have Joey Bosa, who last year had 7 forced fumbles, which is just astonishing, especially at the defensive end position. And he went to the Pro Bowl. He had 10.5 sacks, 51 combined tackles at the D-line position, 5 tackles for losses. Joey Bosa's continued to be a game wrecker through his career, and he's just everything you look for in a pass rusher. Coming in at number 4, I have Nick Bosa, who quietly last season put together a heck of a year. That insane rookie season, then got injured and missed all of last year. But then this year, last year he got back on track. He had 15.5 sacks last year, along with 52 combined tackles. He went to the Pro Bowl, 21 tackles for losses, and 4 forced fumbles. Nick Bosa was a big reason for the 49ers' victory over the Cowboys in that wild card game. He was a game wrecker in that game. And the reason I edge him over his brother Joey is mainly because he's a little bit younger and he's coming off of a more explosive season. Coming in at number 3, I have Myles Garrett, and he went to the Pro Bowl last year, was a first-team All-Pro last year. He had 16 sacks along with 51 combined tackles. Myles Garrett has been, a cornerstone for that Cleveland Browns team over the last few years. And up until recently, he really didn't have much help on that D-line, and he was facing a lot of double teams. Jadeveon Clowney helped out with that. Myles Garrett transcended pass rusher and has not fell short of expectations when he was drafted super high back in 2017. Now, coming in at number 2, I got TJ Watt, and he was the player that I was referring to earlier that is technically an outside linebacker, but I'm counting him here. So TJ Watt, I think this guy an argument to be the best right now. But with TJ Watt, he's definitely gotten rid of the label of, oh, he's JJ Watt's brother. I remember back in 2017, even 2018, despite him having some good seasons, people would refer to him as JJ Watt's brother, and he's just known for being JJ Watt's brother. I think he's going to surpass JJ Watt if he hasn't already. He just had 22.5 sacks last season, tied Michael Strahan's record for most sacks in a single season, and that was with missing 2 games. He missed 2 games. He only played 15 games. He definitely would have broken it if not for missing those games. He had 21 tackles for losses. He even got 5 forced fumbles. He won his first defensive player of the year this year. But obviously this isn't a whole career sort of thing, but he has 72 sacks in his career already, just in his first 5 seasons. So he's on a pretty impressive track right now. And there's an argument that he's the best, but I have him coming in at number 2. And then coming in at number 1, I don't think there's any surprise here of who I got. Aaron Donald, who's coming off of another great season. He had 12 and a half sacks, 84 combined tackles at the position at the D-line. He had a total of 4 forced fumbles. He won. He went to the Pro Bowl. He got a first-team All-Pro. He got some Defensive Player of the Year's votes again, and he won the Super Bowl. He finally got his first ring. He's only 2 sacks away from having his 100th sack in the playoffs. And then in the playoffs, he made the difference for that Rams team. I truly believe, they don't win it there without him. A lot of the attention was on Stafford and Cup, but he had 3.5 sacks in the postseason, which isn't anything too astonishing. But in the Super Bowl, he really showed up, and he had a lot of QB hits, so he came close a lot of the times. He's definitely the best defensive lineman, I'd say, right now. Excuse me. He can help you stop the run. He can help you, rush the passer, obviously. I mean, what's impressive about him, he's been a one-man wrecking crew for that Rams defensive line for a while. Last year they brought Von Miller in, which helped, but now they lost Von Miller again, so now he's going to go back in that, no partner in crime situation, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think he's still going to dominate at the line of scrimmage. So, yeah, comment down below what you guys think about this list. As a Chiefs fan, it kind of pains me to not put Chris Jones in the top 5 defensive linemen. Maybe some people still would consider him a top 5 defensive lineman, but I just think, with Chris Jones, it's been a little bit underwhelming over the last couple of years, ever since he's gotten his big contract. He had, in 2018, he had 18 sacks, I believe, but over the last few years, he hasn't hit 10 sacks since 2018, and he's really just slowed down, and he's not really that dominant pass rusher that the Chiefs hoped he would be. He's definitely an above-average pass rusher, and is better than almost any player you can think of. He might be number 6 right outside of these guys, but I don't think he's on the level of any of the 5 of these guys, unfortunately. So, yeah, that'll be it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time.